What is up? Welcome back to the CA Power Player Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Askins. I have two amazing human beings in the freaking studio today, which I'm super excited about, all the way from Idaho. I'm like, dang, dude, a good thing they flew, because if you had to drive, it would have taken days from Idaho, even though I like Idaho potatoes. I got some friends in Idaho. I'm actually a fan of Idaho. I've been there. I kind of like it. If you guys haven't been, you may want to check it out. Either way, welcome back to the podcast. I'm super excited for today's episode. Here's why. If you are out there and you are thinking, I would love to find more money with the people that I'm already talking to and sitting with, and I would like more of a system and training and a series of questions and all of those things to be able to fact find and cross-sell better, then guess what? This will be one of the best podcasts you have ever listened to in the history of the world and insurance, and especially maybe our podcast as well. Please welcome from Annuity Fundamentals. Also, if at any time you want to book a call, you can go to annuityfundamentals.com, jump on their schedule, and then boom, you're talking to them. Please welcome, we have Ryan Anderson and Kylie Malat.
Yes.
What is up?
Welcome.
Hey. Thank you.
We're happy to be here. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm excited you are here as well, man. We got a little lunch. We got to hang out in the cafeteria with the catering company downstairs, which was great.
Quite lovely. Nice place.
Pretty nice. What I'm super excited about today is we have an audience that a lot of new agents, Medicare agents, life insurance agents, health insurance agents that are, they struggle, but they get in a rut. They make some sales, but they never really figure out how to, in a lot of cases, like elevate and actually start to land the occasional larger sell. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of funny, like, Ryan, how much, like, for an average Medicare agent that just does, like, let's just call it 70 grand their first year.
Yeah.
How much extra commission, let's just say they don't use your fundamentals. How much extra money are they missing out on over the course of those 12 months? If you just had to, like, guess, just throw it out there. It's not going to be accurate, but we're going to try.
They should at least be able to double their income without any hesitation. At least 70 grand a year, no problem at all. None whatsoever. If they're not doing what they're supposed, if they're using our stuff, that's only $1 million in annuities.
Yeah.
That's less than $100K a month. That's less than $25,000 a week.
Yeah.
Can you find one $200,000 annuity 5 times in a year? Just one every other month. That's
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
And they should be able to do that. I mean, you did that.
That's exactly what I did. Yeah.
I mean, day one she came in, couldn't spell annuity, and how much did you sell your first 9 months?
Yeah, I closed over $1 million.
Yeah, and qualified for convention when she started in September.
Go.
Qualified for convention by the end of the year, $1 million and 60 grand. I mean, right there. So yeah, easily double that.
Yep.
I love that. So if you're listening and you're like, you know what? And I think this podcast will probably it'll be under an hour. Just by listening for the next 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes, you could make an extra $70,000. I think that's a pretty good amount per minute as well if we start backing that out.
There we go.
Okay? I would love to hear your story a little bit. For those that don't know who you are, I'm learning about Annuity Fundamentals, but I am extremely impressed. You do it a very unique way. You also you teach agents and advisors how to introduce themselves. And also, for the record, if you're new and you can't spell annuity like Kylie couldn't either,
That would be me.
this is actually better than for you than those that think, I know everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're like, dude, I don't know everything. Amazing. If you're like, I don't sell annuities. Perfect. This is the podcast for you, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to learn as much as the audience will, because I can't still spell annuity, which is cool.
Yeah.
fun.
Well, I'll start off. I was a project manager for a custom home builder, and I decided to get into the insurance industry. I met Ryan Anderson. He was actually the manager at that time. And so I was like, all right, well, let's get started. It was a Medicare house. So MedSup, heavy. They also did life insurance, long-term care, and then some debt elimination and financial services.
Nice.
So as a new agent, holy smokes, that's like 2 fire hoses pointed right at you at the same time. Just a lot. And I was blessed, and I know I'm very lucky and blessed to have Doug McDermott. He was actually, he came in, he's a big annuity trainer, actually a big annuity guru of the whole business. So he came in, and he did some fundamentals, and he did some systems. He put those in place, and it was like, just a light bulb went off. Because I can follow a system. I was an athlete my whole life, so if I'm coached, I will do it, and I'll do it.
What'd you play?
Well, I'm 6 feet tall, so I played everything, right? Volleyball, basketball, and softball, and I was from a small town, so big fish, small town,
Oh,
right?
come on. You got to plug your alma mater. What town are you from?
Othello, Washington, everybody. You've heard it here first. Look them up.
Othello.
Othello.
Othello. And
Yep.
I actually
Othello.
spent a lot of my childhood in a little tiny town just even south of there called Basin City. Yeah, if you're there. And if you're not, and if you're from there, you're related to me. That's how big the town
Yeah,
is.
Got it.
no
So-
joke. Same with Othello.
it.
So anyway, yeah, I could do a system. I could work a system really easy. And so it was total buy-in for me. And which I've learned since doing this over the past 5 years, the buy-in is really everything. So anyway, long story short, he put in these systems, and it was as simple as, this is what you say. This is how you introduce yourself. This is what you say in an appointment. And that. It wasn't how to explain an annuity. It wasn't the products. It wasn't anything heavy like that. It was introduce yourself, proper fact finding, and then getting that annuity tee up language. So I did it. There was 11 of us in the office
Something
at
like
that
that,
time.
11,
At that
13.
time, and I was the newest. Like, I was brought in. I had zero experience. I hadn't even been on an appointment when I met Doug. Right.
Wow.
And so I went through, and I just said what he told me to say. No idea really what it meant. I just said, he said, say this, you'll be successful. So I said it, and I was successful. A lot of that was continual training, right? So I would get this. The annuity tee-up language is then bringing back an expert, right? So I learned a long time ago, 50% of something is a lot better than 100% of nothing.
Amen to
And
that.
I knew I was fresh, so I needed
Yeah.
some help. Maybe I couldn't do it by myself. I couldn't do it by myself, so I needed some help. So I would go into these Medicare appointments. I didn't buy annuity leads. I didn't buy financial leads or life leads. They were all Medicare leads. So I would go in, I would introduce myself, tell them what I was doing, what I was about. I did more than just Medicare, would go into the fact finding, and then I would say, okay, if they had more than $50,000, then I would do an annuity tee-up, getting that second appointment, and then educating them on Medicare. So I would circle back to the reason why I was there. I'd close my Medicare business. A week later, Ryan would come to the appointment with me, and we'd close an annuity. Not in that appointment, but we'd get into the money and go from there. And so that was really the process of my success. And it was unfortunate for some of the other people in the office who couldn't get into the money. And I remember after I had made it to convention, we were sitting around a table, and I was the youngest. I mean, in the business, and the youngest there anyway.
By a lot on both, yeah.
And so I was intimidated. If you could be intimidated, that was me. I was just
Okay.
sitting there in front of all these people who had just been in the business killing it. And one of them looked at me, and he was like, hey, Kylie, so how'd you get into the money? And for the life of me, I was trying to think of the smartest thing to say. Like, I wanted to be like, just pop off with something just so amazing that he was going to be in awe. And I couldn't think of anything, so I just went with the truth. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to. Like, that's as simple as it was. I didn't know that people weren't doing it because I was told right up front, get into the money, have these conversations, because you want to be holistic in the home. We heard that a ton. Just,
Amen.
yeah, I mean, when you're going in, I love people turning 65. They're my favorite. They need you, right? So they'd have no idea what Medicare is. That's your opportunity to be an educator. You tell them what Medicare is, what it isn't, where it's great, where it falls short, how to fill in the gaps. And then from there, there's opportunities on top of opportunities. And a lot of people, they don't even have those conversations. So a lot of it's just left on the table. And so that's where some of our agents would leave it. I just wasn't one of them. I followed the system. I said what he told me to say, and then I was successful after that.
You know, the thing about it is that even more so than that, when she was talking about that, and we talked a little bit about this earlier, that one of the big concerns that I had as the district manager was getting people to make the money we promised them. And the system as it was currently doing, as I was leading it, and I had different managers with different teams, they weren't hitting those numbers. They weren't coming close to it. And the thought process was, how can I move from Medicare and maybe an occasional indemnity, a final expense policy or something like that, and getting them money much, much quicker? How do I take a new agent and save their career by getting them paid fast? When I interviewed and brought Kylie on and contracted with her, she was exceptional. Every now and then you meet somebody that's like, this lady is a change agent. She's going to do great things. And it was her. I was like, we can't let her fail. And we can't. And at that time, there were about a half dozen people that were really blessed to have come into the agency that were exceptional, all of them. And it was, all right, we've got this group of people that can really rock the world if we do our part. And so as the guy in charge, we sat down and like, all right, how do we do this? Well, annuities we're failing at. And we literally, the 12 months previous to this change, before Doug coming in and training us, we'd done $720,000 in annuities. All right, so about 50 grand in comp. The next year, 12 months later, from that date, $7.2 million, over $500K in comp.
Wow.
Yeah.
A literal 10x in 12 months.
Literally. And it's simply from doing these things. And so we went through there and actually we repeated that over and over and over again. And it wasn't just a one and done. We just actually increased year over year after that. Because I mean, really in the grand scheme of things, $7 million is not a lot of annuity premium,
Right.
Yeah.
but going from 700 to 7 million, that is a big deal. And then moving on from there. And one of the things about Annuity Fundamentals is what we do is that we've got agents that are extremely talented, Medicare agents that love their clients, and know their stuff. But what we found in teaching these classes is that there's 3 key elements that we want to make sure that they know how to do. And most Medicare agents do it incorrectly in order to get into the money. And the first one of those is a proper introduction. How do you introduce yourself? Because most of the time when they come in, they're thinking, oh, I'm the Medicare agent. I make a phone call, I get their drugs, I get their doctor, and then I show up and I already know that they're going to be on the XYZ plan for X amount a month. They need a plan G, a plan N, or maybe an Advantage plan. And you're walking into that, you sit down, shoot the breeze with them, and 10 minutes later, you got the books out, you scope signed, and away you go. But now you're just the Medicare person. If you introduce yourself correctly, now you're the Medicare person, the life insurance person, and the annuity person, and we show them how to do that. Then the next piece of that is in these classes, we go through, and it's shocking to me if I ask you as a Medicare agent, do you have a fact finder, a company intake sheet, a data sheet of some kind you use every single time? And I would probably say that maybe 3 out of 10 do.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
It's pretty low. It's shockingly low.
Yeah, that's really low.
Or do you have a CRM system that you use? And we'll ask them that room and say, I've got a system. And I was like, let me clarify. An Excel spreadsheet and a filing cabinet is not a system. Half the hands in the room go down. And it's like, so do you have these things? And then we go through and we show them do a proper fact finding. And we've got the tools for this, and we show them things that work really well. And then the third step is, once you get into the money, how do you compliantly in a Medicare appointment that is scoped, and there is a way to actually set up an appointment for a future appointment to talk about the money. And if they can do those 3 simple steps, and it takes us 6 weeks to train them how to do it, so we've got a lot of deprogramming to do, the world's their oyster.
Yep.
And they literally will double their income.
That is incredible. Wow. I love that from both of you too. What stood out, several things stood out, right? Do you think that, I'm kind of curious for Kylie's standpoint, do you think athletes make better insurance agents just because of how coachable they had to be their whole life?
In my experience, yeah. I mean, I think when we've brought agents on who have played and who haven't, it is different. Because, I don't know, as an athlete, sure, you have an ego, but you don't. I mean, you get told what to do, when to do it, how to do it every single day. And so it makes you very, okay, I want to improve. If I want to improve, I'm going to listen.
Yep.
And you always have that coach who's like always harping on you. And then they say, if I'm not harping on you, that means that I don't pay attention to you. And that I don't see any, I don't know, potential. Right?
Yeah.
And so I enjoy the feedback. I mean, I would go into Ryan's office and he would be brutal with me. And it was like, okay, sheesh, let me have it again. But I mean, he made me better. And we had a couple agents in the office who, I'm competitive by nature. I have 5 siblings, and we're all the same, and we're all a little psycho, and we like to have fun.
It's a good group. They're a good group.
Yeah,
of
we have
folks.
a good time.
That's
for sure.
great.
And so, we had a couple of those agents that also had just this fire, and we would have this board, and it was like, what did you do today? What did you do for the week? And if I was losing, nothing made me more mad. And it didn't care if they had been in business 5 years. It was like, oh, okay, well, you're not better than me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what can I do? And so I would learn from them. I was a sponge. I think the worst thing you can do is go in and be like, I know everything. I can do it. I'm fine. No, I ask a lot of questions. I listen, I watch. And when I would go on appointments with them, I would say nothing. I would just listen how they did it, what questions, how they pivoted, really just soak it all in so that I could put my flair on it, right? Because I knew what I did good at.
Yes.
But I needed to see what they did and, oh, I like that. I'm going to implement. Ooh, I don't like that. That's not going to be for me. And I think that's really important to just sit back and say, they're better than me in this aspect. How can I improve? So definitely, I think sports definitely gave me that background to be competitive in that way or just strategic.
Yep.
You know, sitting there looking at it and brought on working with a lot of folks over the years, I think that sports piece is huge. And part of that, I believe, has to do with systems, with processes. I think back to high school, you know, wrestling team, you know, football practice, whatever those different things were. And you started out every day, you know, your calisthenics, you did the running, you did the warm up for the first half hour that you just went through.
Yeah.
Then you actually got to the fun stuff. But it was the systems and the processes. And
The fundamentals.
the
You start with the
fundamentals. The
fundamentals.
fundamentals.
Annuity
Every single
fundamentals.
time.
Fundamentals.com.
Yeah, oh, we need to use that. That's good.
I think somebody already did.
Okay, but I mean, thinking about this, but looking at it, is that have you ever been to one of these national conventions with all the heavy hitters and whatever IMO, whatever company, and you go there, and this really struck me the first time I went there, and I was like, oh, there's this one guy, and I'd heard his name, and it's like, I want to meet this guy. And I had in my mind somebody that could change the world, was charismatic, was good looking, somebody a lot like you, Cody. Let's be
Here we
honest.
go.
Oh, that's great.
There we
You
go.
can use that too.
Yeah,
But
keep going.
Yeah. But I had in my mind just this amazing stereotypical, just heavy hitter, just rock star.
Yeah.
And I found I was like, he's over there, and I was looking for the guy, and I didn't see him. But there was this dude sitting on the couch. It was just this kind of backwards, goofy looking guy. And I went up and I talked to him, and he was backwards and goofy. And I was like, how in the world does this guy get the top 10 sales every year? And he actually was presenting at an event later that day or the next week or something. And it was about systems. It was about processes.
Wow.
And he's like, I do the same thing every day, no matter what.
He was a robot. Like, truly, his personality, with all due respect, was probably a 3 out of a 10.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't
Yeah.
lively. He wasn't, let's get to know each other. It was business. It was just very systematized.
Yeah. But he did it, and he hit on all cylinders
Yeah.
all the time. And I was like, okay, can I have somewhere in the middle? Can I have a system and actually be pleasant? So, but, and that's kind of what we got now.
Yeah.
Incredible. That's several things I thought through. One, when you were talking through like the sales, like the leaderboard, we had a leaderboard in my office when I first started in insurance, and I was so competitive. I always had to be on the top of the leaderboard, right? And the agents have been doing it 20 years, right? And so I loved that like if you're competitive, you're gonna love hanging out with these two. Also, I remember sitting in appointments and not saying a thing. I was scared. It's so crazy because it's not true, but I was so scared to speak, or like the whole cell would just be blown.
Yeah.
We would have no chance of working with them. And it was like, nah, you can be a human and talk to people,
Yeah.
right? But we overthink it. I was
Yep.
like, freaking out. Then when you're talking about, when Ryan was talking about gentleman being a robot, right, doing the same thing every day, dude, there's so many agents that try to, rather than plugging into a system and being consistent with it and just doing it, they want to reinvent the wheel or do their own thing, or they think they haven't, they because they were good at car sales, they're just gonna be great at insurance.
Amen.
Right.
You know, and it's like, dude, it's just they're different. Like, bro, I'm good at basketball, but like I'm going to the PGA Championship in literally in a couple days.
Yeah.
I'm
Hop
okay
right
at
in.
golf, but I don't think I could hop right in. You know, like.
No, and think about it, it's like guys like that. And it's funny that I've seen talented agents really have got great potential, and they're squirrels. They're ADD. They're like, oh, shiny, I'm going to do this, and they do
Yeah.
it for like a month, and then they get bored with it. Oh, I found this. See another video online. They see another something, or they hear about this other, and they shift and they don't build. They abandon and start over.
Yeah.
And so
They don't build, they abandon and start over. That's
yes.
good.
And that's exactly what happened. Is like, oh, this didn't work. And it's like, well, you were just getting it figured out.
Yeah.
I mean, we do seminars, and when I got the seminar thing, doing the dinner seminar, the educational thing for annuities, it cost me $47,000 in about 5 months before I would say I had a truly successful event figured out.
Yeah.
And I mean, unless you're willing to invest time, money into whatever it is, and yourself, which is the greatest investment, you're wasting your time, because you've got to get that system and process figured out, and just to consistently go through and do it.
Amen. You also talked about, you know what? We heard Kylie's story. We did not hear much of yours yet.
No.
I would love to hear
Buckle
that.
up, everybody.
Let's go. Strap in.
Hers is way more fun than mine. So I've been in the insurance world for about 10 years. Before that, I was in banking. I worked for a bank that's got bought up and gobbled up and gobbled up. And then but I've been in sales since I was about 14. In fact, funny story how I got started in sales. This is, I was 14 years old, living in Boise, Idaho. And my mom grew up on a farm in Eastern Washington. And she's like, I'm tired of you guys laying around the house. And she went through and went out and she made all these suckers, hard candy suckers, and then she made them all weekend, and we're like, what are these suckers for? She's like, everybody likes a sucker. Do you want a piece of candy? This was totally out of character for her. She never did anything like this. Then came Monday morning, she rolled us out of bed like at 8 in the morning, which this was summers, man. This was for sitting down watching Bob Barker on, Price is Right, eating my cold cereal in the living room around 11 o'clock. That was how summers rolled.
You made me think about Happy Gilmore when you did that.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
I just watched that recently.
Yeah. And so the price is wrong, Bob.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You also have ADHD.
There we go.
This episode is for you.
Amen.
But so she did this, and then she made us breakfast, which she never did unless we had company over. And we went through, and she went off, said, okay, these are a quarter each. These are $3 each, these hard suckers. Tell me that. And that was my sales training. Dropped me off on the other side of town and said, go door to door to businesses and come back when you're done.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, holy crap. Then all of a sudden.
Child abuse, but that's okay.
Yeah. I was like, So we sold the candy, and we sold like $15 that first day. Then over the next week, we sold it all. And okay, we've learned our lesson. Ha, ha, ha. And then she made more. Then the next week we did like $400 in candy. Then my mom realized that she had a slave labor force.
There we go.
And we went forward, and
She's like, how do we get more kids?
There was 8 of us.
Yeah.
There
were plenty of kids.
I'm the
Never mind.
second of 8 kids. The first 4 we were on the street.
Louise.
She had decades.
Almost
worth
a full
in
baseball
reserve.
team.
There we go.
3 on the bench in basketball.
Yeah. And so we
2
did
volleyball teams almost. Jeez Louise.
Oh yeah, but no, or just one really massive sales force.
Yes.
There we
And
go.
so we ended up doing that for the next 7-8 years, all the way through high school. And I'm sitting, and we got to the point where we go out and go door to door after school, make $1,000 in an afternoon. And it was amazing. So I learned a lot about sales at that point in time. But moving on, I got into the insurance world because I wanted to help people. And I wanted a career that I could basically had flexibility and get into to help people, but also have the lifestyle that I wanted.
Yeah.
And I started with a company. I was just an agent in Boise, Idaho. Through some very generous opportunities with that particular company, they opened an office for me, created a district up in northern Idaho, and I ended up running that company's operation for Alaska, Montana, Oregon, Washington, and northern Idaho.
Did you have to go to Alaska when you did that? Or no?
Regularly, twice a week.
Whoa.
Twice a month I was up in Alaska. It was awesome.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's cool. I've never been.
Oh,
That's
it's
great.
totally great. And it's Anchorage and Wasilla. We just did a lot of work up there.
I don't know how much work he did. He'd always send pictures of these massive fish he was catching.
Yeah.
You know,
He was busy. He was
the
busy.
airfare was covered. There's, if it's an extra day
Enjoy it.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. If
Good
you've been to
times.
Alaska before, let us know in comments below. I've never been. What am I missing?
All right.
Yeah.
Actually, to be in her fair, I only caught 1 fish in Alaska. Those other ones were all caught in Washington.
Oh,
That's
wow.
true.
Yeah. And so that was, those were lots of fun. But anyway,
He's a bad fisherman, guys. Don't use that as a plug. That's nothing against Alaska.
I am a bad fisherman. I have since, yes. About 5 years ago, I got rid of my golf clubs and my fishing poles because I don't need to be that frustrated to have fun.
Amen
So
to that.
I have since discovered fishing guides, which changed my world.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I went through and we got done with this, and I went up there and opened it, and it started back to what Kylie was talking about, was how do we get more agents money faster?
Yep.
And we bring on great people, and I mean, 8% nation. I mean, the reason that only 8% and 92% failure rate in our industry.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here looking at this. How can I increase that as far as the success rate? And annuities were it. So we sat down, we looked at it, and I said, all right, guys, we're at $720,000 this year. I want to get to 5 million next year. And we sat everybody down. I've got Doug McDermott who's going to come in and give us some training. I'm going to sit down with everybody on a weekly basis and we're going to go over each of your cases. We've got this board that Kylie talked about to go through and do that. I want to go through and what are the systems you're using? I want to hear your introductions. I want to hear your fact finding. How do you do your tee-ups? I'm going to go in and I'm going to do the close. I am no longer going to be doing any Medicare business. I am solely and only going to be working the large cases with you. You're no longer competing with me as a manager for cases. I am totally your support. So we went through and we did that. And we were sitting there and I told him if we hit 5 million that I would take everybody on an Alaskan cruise. And so we went through, COVID happened, which was a body blow to that year and all of a sudden it was like, okay, so we can't go on a cruise, and all of a sudden people didn't want to talk to us. We were doing really well. And then all of a sudden we had like 8 weeks with nothing because of COVID. And then we went through and like, okay, we adjusted, we adapted, we started going through and seeing folks, and then we rallied the fourth quarter that year and came up with 7.2 million. We decided can't go to Alaska because of the cruise is shut down, so we went to Mexico for a week instead. Way better choice.
I think that's a better choice too.
It was fun. He was like, Kylie, what should we do? And I was like, Mexico's never a bad idea. So yeah, he put together a plan, and
That's
our office,
incredible.
all of our everybody in our office qualified.
I was supposed to go on an Alaskan cruise in 2020 as well, actually, believe it or not. Didn't go. And then I was also with our sales team. We were doing these incentives, and making me think of all the stuff today. This is great. Where we were going to do we were doing these quarterly incentives. You go to the NBA Finals and MLB World Series and all these different things. And
big ones,
it all got canceled. So it's like they won won the stuff, and then we just bought them golf clubs and other stuff instead of going to the trips.
But we went through and did it, and one of the things about it is when we did that, I'm sitting here looking at that, and I sat down with my wife beforehand and said, hey, honey, I want to take the whole office. I mean, we're talking 26 people.
Wow.
And to
Including
Mexico.
spouses,
And
right?
spouses, yeah. And then there was an admin that I wanted to bring, and then there was a couple other people that had really helped out along the way, that those office folks that make everything possible that are often overlooked and not included in incentives.
Amen.
And like, we've got to treat these folks right. So we invited one of them and her spouse, it was a great time, and to have this event. And I gave my wife the price tag for that, and she's like, who's paying for this? I was like, oh, I am. And then I did the math on the annuities on how much you like. She's like, oh, if they sell that, we're good. No problem at all. And that's the thing about it, is that when it comes to those incentives, as a manager and as a leader, they have to be achievable. They have to be amazing, something that somebody wouldn't normally go and do on their own. Yeah. And then you have to follow through with it. Don't go cheap. And and if you can do that, then all of a sudden people will rise to the occasion. Yeah. And that was the only time in my career, and I've seen a lot of different incentives where 100% of the people that could have gone did. Yep. Every single person qualified. That's cool. I mean, it was an exceptional group of people. It really was.
Sounds exceptional.
The reason they all qualified was because of the fundamentals.
Yeah.
It wasn't that they knew more about annuities than anyone else. Like, it was pretty fresh. Like, that was a new concept coming in, and Doug really hit it hard with having a servant's heart. And he really implemented that during the training. Like, if you want this to work, you have to be genuine, and people feel that, right?
Yeah, they do, big time.
And so, I mean, what better opportunity to help people? They need it, right? A lot of people have the conversation of how to get to retirement, but rarely do they have the conversation to get through retirement. And so that's what we help with. We are the distribution side. We're saying, congratulations, you've saved all of this money. Now let's make it last the next 30 years. And these are some concepts on how to do it. And so it all just got brought back to the fundamentals of opening your mouth and saying, hey, I can help you with Medicare, but I can also help you in life insurance and in the financial realm. And so it was just the little steps, right? It wasn't a huge life-changing thing. For me, it was, because I was brand new, so I was taking everything in. But for the agents in the office, it was just tweaking their language. And that was it. I mean, really, in their fact-finding, getting that annuity tee up to bring Ryan back, to bring the financial planner back, to have those conversations, and then to learn. And with every appointment, right, Ryan talked less, I talked more. And so it was like, just learning and saying, okay, now I can do the annuity 101. Okay, absolutely. Great. And then he would help me with the close. Okay, great. I can do that by myself now. And it was a graduation into doing it alone. Yeah. But having the support I think people really overlook that.
Yeah. One of the things about it is that when we go through and we're talking with Medicare agents, and there are so many excuses people come up with, like, I can't make this work because of XYZ. I can't work because it's compliance. I don't understand the products. I don't understand
they'll find
the company.
excuses.
I'm not the contracting, blah, whatever it is. And it's really simple. And we always say, you're right here, and I want to move you here. Literally 1 degree. That old, James Clear, his, that great book. I love that. But just the 1 degree. And that's it. And if you can simply change how you introduce yourself, how you fact find, and then doing a simple tee-up, it will change your life. And the rest of that stuff, you don't need to know right now. Somebody out there is listening right now saying, well, that's great, that's fine, but I don't know the product. How am I going to do the case design? Dude, your IMO will help you with that. If you get contracted with one of these companies, they've all got departments of dozens of people sitting around ready to do a case design to explain to you how to sell it. That's the easy part. The hard part is using the exact same leads you've got in the exact same appointment you have right now to find millions of dollars of opportunity that you've lost. That year that we were talking there, I talked a little bit about seminars, which I do now. But when we were doing that, made that leap from 700,000 to 7 million, we did not change our leads. We did not change our, we were a Medicare shop, and it was simply, I'm here to talk to you about an Advantage plan today. Let me fact find, you've got $200,000 worth of money. What's the purpose of those funds? And they'd tell us, and we'd say, I'm here today to talk about Medicare, but with your permission, can I come back next Tuesday and share some ideas with you? Yeah. And then we did that. So it's compliant.
It was that simple.
That's powerful.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
I'm ready to get back into sales so I can find some annuity money.
Yeah.
Well, and over the course we've been doing these classes, and the biggest question we get is like, okay, what leads are you using? And it was like, my leads were my Medicare leads. Like, it's not like you have to reinvent everything and find different leads. No, use the leads you're working, because those people are, if they're entering retirement, that means, 100%. If they're entering Medicare, they're in retirement, so they have something to work with.
Yeah. In fact, we've even got it where we're out and we're speaking all over the country right now, and we're talking to different folks. And I say, now, if you've got, how many of you have been in here for Medicare for more than 3 years? And they'll raise their hand. How many of you have got more than 100 clients, 200 clients, 300 clients, whatever it is? All right, take your low-income folks out of there. Take your people that are on extra help out of there. How many do you have left? I don't know. Say we start with 100, so that's 20% of them. So you've got 80 people there. What I want you to do is I want you to set an appointment with all 80 of those people. Don't set any new appointments. Just go back to your existing folks. Let me show you how to reintroduce yourselves. You go in there and say, hey, I'm here to Medicare. You may not know I do X, Y, and Z also. And then I want to update my records, and you go through a new fact finder with them, and we'll show you how to do that. And then you'll say, well, I've got your Medicare taken care of. I got your prescription drugs taken care of. I can see we need to talk about your life insurance here. And what is the purpose of this $200,000 401k that you've got sitting out here you've done nothing with? And go back to your existing clients and do that, and you will make thousands this year by not spending a single penny on leads and strengthening your Medicare book of business.
And the best part about that is, your income goes up, but you're also protecting those clients. I love selling annuities, because when I sell them or enroll people into an annuity contract, right, I never have to worry like, oh crap, did I just do something that wasn't good for them? Is that going to hurt them on the back end? It's so nice to have contractual guarantees and saying, oh no, this is what's going to happen, and just having it all out there for them, so there's no guessing game. Exactly. That's such a relief for me, because at the end of the day, this is people's livelihood. Like, this is the rest of their 30 years. How can we make that last in a good way, not just like penny pinching and being like, well, I can't do this or that. It's letting them live the lifestyle they want. It's amazing. I love it.
I'm starting to love it too. You guys are starting to love it too that are hanging out listening. You also talked about the importance of, you have this amazing team. Speaking of your team, I'm very disappointed that Angelique is not here sitting with us.
Oh, we know. She makes the world go round, that girl does.
She is so awesome.
She is social media stuff, our marketing stuff. She is
amazing. The
lady in the background that just, and actually, you know what her superpower is? Snacks. Snacks. We have regular partner meetings. We have regular meetings, and we never plan food. We never plan anything, because we know Angelique will be there, and she's going to have snacks.
Yeah.
And I don't know where she gets these things, but when it comes to that, that's just one of her many superpowers.
No, that's the least of her superpower. She was actually my trainer. So when I got into the business, she was my trainer, and I I could spend a day telling the stories that we've had together, but
That's
she was
cool.
also the reason. She was at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And so I would learn from her. What she would say, I would say.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I remember Medicare can be kind of tedious. So I remember there was a stretch there where it was just like, oh my gosh, we couldn't close anything. It was just tough, like 2 or 3 weeks, right? Which doesn't sound like forever, but it was forever because you're on commission only, right? So it was just like, oh, and she looked at me and she said, you can't quit. And my background, I was like, wait, quitting was an option? I had no idea. Like, I thought we were just like riding this out. And she's like, no, don't quit. Like, we will get through this. And I mean, she's a huge reason why I'm still here today. Like, she gave me the long vision. And I was just like, okay, if she can do it, I can do it. And
That's so
it was
cool.
very much like uplifting. And I love that in this business. I mean, you're great at it. How can we get you better? We're not competing. We're on the same team.
Exactly.
We want to do this better. And she was very much that. And she would, I mean, when it comes to annuity, she knows how to get in there.
You know,
she's great.
You did $1 million that first year. And that, as far as that, in that 1 year, Angelique did 2.5.
Yeah, she's
And
phenomenal.
so these two
Let's
ladies of the 7 million, they did 3.5.
Yeah.
They were 50% of them were those two.
Girls run the world. What can I say?
That's
That's
right.
true.
I look forward to meeting Angelique. That's
Yeah.
truly
Yeah,
incredible.
she's
That's awesome. Also, I think I wanted to jump to, you know what I was thinking about when you were talking? I was thinking about how you teach, you talk about fishing. I'm like, dude, you guys are teaching agents to fish, you know? And like, okay, because a lot of them we know where to fish, you know, but we're like, we don't know like how to actually, like, I'm not a fisher guy. My
like what lure to use,
Yeah,
what pole
all
to
the
use.
stuff,
Yeah,
right?
What
This
the
is-
techniques are.
Yeah.
I'm in Missouri. You would think this would be like normal for me to
Seriously.
talk about
Yeah.
fish. Nah, fishing and hunting, I'm out. My father-in-law fishes every day, but
Yeah.
yeah, like you guys are teaching agents that. So if you're listening and you're like, dude, I don't. It's not even whether you want to master annuities. It's whether you want to help your clients uncover opportunity that's sitting right in front of you, like you just don't see it yet.
Yeah.
And be able to increase your income in a massive way. I like the idea, the concept of like there's agents that need income, they need it quickly.
Yeah.
And this is a great way to help them get thousands of dollars in one check fairly.
And think about this. In
a month.
Kylie's, she's a great example of this. I mean, how many of us have been in the insurance business for a long time, and we've been successful? If you've been in the insurance business for over a year, you're more successful than 90% or better of the people out there.
Yeah.
And so in that period of time, you've gotten a stable of clients. And then how many of you have looked back and thought, man, my first 3-4 months, I was total trash. I can't believe anybody actually bought anything from me.
Yeah.
I was able to enroll anybody in anything. I wish I could go back and talk to them. Well, you can.
Yeah.
And let's show you how to do it. But it is all about systems. And one of the things about it is that if I would sit down with folks and I was sitting there and they're like, okay, I'm not making money. Great. How are you doing through system? And inevitably, every single one of these folks were not working some major aspect of the system. They skipped over it. I didn't like that one. When I get together with a third-year agent who should have their stuff together, I would go back and sit there. I was like, my income's taking a dive this year. Well, tell me your company introduction. All right, you left out this part, and this part. I had a great manager that really helped me cut my teeth in. His name's James Case, just an amazing guy, and his big thing is drift. He spent all of his life. He says it seems like that's all I'm doing is teaching agents to quit drifting and get back to the systems. And the further along in my career that I get, the more I realize, it's those very fundamental systems, which is why annuityfundamentals.com came to be. How do we train them how to do these systems?
It's all about the language, and that's where the fundamentals come in, right? I mean, I played basketball my entire life. I could go out right now and shoot a three-pointer, and I'll miss it because I need to go into the layup.
We can go find out. You may
Right?
make out.
I mean, I am who I am, but no, I'm just kidding. But like, it's all about, getting the close shot, getting a warm up, and
Correct.
doing those fundamentals correctly so that you can start being the next Caitlin Clark, right? And just draining the
Amen
threes.
to
But
that.
you can't be a great annuity producer without having the fundamentals and
Exactly.
implementing this. I know we're going to say systems like 900 times here, but it's so important just to understand language matters. And
Yeah.
the drift is a real thing. You start changing your presentation. Why? Go back to the fundamentals. It's so important to how do you explain what an annuity is? What language are you using? Everyone has a different money blueprint, right? But the fundamentals are consistent. You need to be there. You need to go over them. And just because someone has, 10, 15 million in their portfolio, well, they've never had this conversation. Otherwise, they wouldn't be sitting there. Or if they have 200,000, which is really our bread and butter is middle America, they don't have these conversations. So make sure that you're using language that matters and that they understand so that they can have this concept and make it their reality. That's our job, right? It's to take the confusing and the messy and to make it understandable. That's what makes us powerful, because you can say, do you know what an annuity is? And they'll lie, maybe. And they'll be like, yeah, no, I know what it is. But maybe they really don't, right? And so it's our job to say, okay, well, there's different types, for one, and they all serve a different purpose. So let's get into it. And using the same language, sentences, words, phrases every single time not only makes you better and a better educator, but helps them understand. So I think people who do the annuity, 105 and up forget the annuity 101 until 104, and their business suffers because of it.
Yep.
Talking down to clients, things like that. And that's one of the other things about it is we go through, and one of the business models that we work with is we'll go through and we'll find, say, an agency or even an IMO. But when we do a lot of work with different IMOs, but we'll have an agency and say they've got, and I'm just pulling numbers out of the air.
Sure.
And say if you've got an agency of 10 people, you've got a manager, generally the owner, with 9 or 10 agents, and 2 of those agents are really heavy hitters, and they're probably driving more than half of the business of the agency. There's 2 or 3 at the other end of them that are either brand new or they're just taking up space in the office. And I'm not trying to speak poorly of people. I'm just talking the reality of, if we look at a production report, this is what you're going to see.
Generally true, yeah.
Then you got the 5 in the middle that are your steady eddies that are just there. They're plugging along. They're producing. They're doing their thing, and they're happy, but they could be happier. And what our system does when we go through and do it is, so we would go into an agency's office and we would sit down and we'd start and we'd do a all-day training. And we'd come in and we'd teach them the fundamentals. We'd teach them the piece to this. And we'd identify 2 heavy hitters in the office, people that have got game, people that know how to close, that have got the wherewithal to get up and really do something. And we will teach them how to close annuities. We'll teach them how to, this is how you would explain an annuity. This is how you do the 101. This is how you do a case design, and this is how you go back and close. Then we take the other 8 and we teach them how to do a tee-up. And all they're going to do is they're going to go through and they're going to set appointments and bring these other 2 heavy hitters back with them. And then they do a split. Everybody makes more money. And then the 2 guys that are doing the splits, that are doing the closes, they're going to make a lot because they've got a whole office full of people setting appointments for them. Correct. But the guys that are setting the appointments for them, the bottom end of that, or those 3 newer or lower producing guys, are going to be happy. I set the appointment, don't give 2 hoots about it. But that 5 in the middle, they're going to look at that. It's like, I can do what he's doing. And they're going to eventually go through and, like Kylie said, I'm going to talk a little bit more. I'm going to talk a little bit more. Then all of a sudden, I'm not going to have him come back and do the tee-up. I'm going to do the close. I'm going to do it myself. And what happens is everybody is elevated.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is have a couple of people qualify for a trip, a couple of I remember the first day somebody got we got paid on Fridays, and the first time somebody came in with a $25,000 compensation check, they were like, holy cow. People were lining up out the door after that, because all they just said, I know that guy, he's goofy, I can beat him.
Yeah.
And so we'll go from there. But that's just kind of but it's all a system.
Yeah, and it's teaching the fundamentals, which most agents don't know, and that's what you'll do. And when I think of what you'll do too, for those that are maybe you're just learning of annuityfundamentals.com for the first time, y'all are, like you said earlier, y'all are educators. They're not recruiting.
No.
They are teaching and training. They're working with individual agents. They're working with agencies. They're working direct with IMOs to help them increase the production. And by using these keys, if they want, like as far as the next steps, if they're like, okay, I get it, I'm leaving money on the table. I need to learn the fundamentals because I really would like to help more people, increase my bottom line, et cetera, et cetera. What should they do?
Okay, so there's a couple different things they can do. If they are just an independent agent, just want to be their own thing, go to annuityfundamentals.com, and there's a spot on there. Schedule what are they called?
It's a phone call with me.
Phone call with Kylie.
Boom.
But you call
Just
them
to hang out and strategize.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
Are
exactly
we a
what
good
it
fit?
is.
And you've got a funny name for him, though, a cool name for it, a
Exploratory
phone call. It's a $3 word. Say find out phone call exploratory. Exploratory sounds so much better.
There we
Great.
go.
That's
And you're
great.
going to talk directly with Kylie.
Yep.
Cool.
And we're going to go through and find out if that works for you. And if they, and it depends on where they're at. That's why we do a phone call. We've got independent agents that we've got a flat price. It's about $3,200 currently, and they can go through and get all the training. And after they've gone through the 6 weeks of training, how many times have you gone to a event, a 3-day event or something, and this is changing my life. Come back Monday, I'm back in my office, like, what the crap do I do now? I was excited 3 days ago. So we've got a master class on the website that after they've been through the class, hundreds of videos that break it down piece by piece. And one of the things that we make sure that everybody's aware of, they've got access to our calendars. If you need a one-on-one with one of us, give us a call. We will come out to your office. We can go through and we can help with the training. We'll help do the case design. We don't want to leave you where you're at. Then then in that exploratory phone call as well, if you do have an agency or you are with an IMO, then we can sit down and put something together for them specifically. But the goal here is we are not trying to recruit agents. We are trainers. We are not recruiters. And we had one organization we worked with, and they're like, oh, go off, and they want us to do all the recruiting for them, and which we're happy to be part of your recruiting tools. But we're trainers. When the class starts, you make sure everybody's licensed, contracted, and we're ready to go.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I love that you guys are doing that. I also appreciate you being here, coming all the way from Idaho to hang out in Springfield, Missouri to get on the podcast. What an amazing podcast, by the way. I would love for you guys to think about, hey, what was my favorite part of this whole thing? Jump in comments below and let them know. I appreciate you both being here, and thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Hey, thank you. And also, just one quick final, we also have a podcast. It's not nearly as famous or as illustrious as yours, but Annuity Fundamentals. Just go through and Google it. Kylie and I are on there. We'll have to have you on our podcast.
Please.
You fly to Idaho. We'll go fishing.
I'm in on Idaho. I don't know about fishing. I would love to be on the podcast. That's amazing.
Your success is our success. So
well, likewise. You guys are amazing. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Cody.
What amazing nuggets have been dropped on the Power Player podcast. You can go to annuityfundamentals.com to book an exploratory call to see how they can help teach you the fundamentals. I'm telling you right now, if I was going back into production, this is one specific thing that I would want to get better at and eventually master. But before you can be a master, be Mr. Miyagi and all the stuff, or the Bass Pro fishermen people, you have to learn the fundamentals. AnnuityFundamentals.com can help you do that. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Power Player podcast. Huge shout out to Ryan and Kylie for being here, and for Angelique for not being here. We missed you, but you're amazing, and I look forward to meeting you too. Thanks for hanging with us, and we'll see you on the next episode. Adios. Hey, if you enjoyed this, I got another one you're going to love. It's right there. Click on it. See you in there. I'm so excited for today's CA Power Player podcast. I'm your host, Cody Askins. We got a special guest. He is back on the channel talking about how to sell life insurance from home. Here's what I love about this person. I'm telling you, this will be one of the best.